Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm tackling a project that I've wanted to do for over a month, flattening an uneven yard. The county put in a new water main this year. They started the project back in March. The work came about 15 feet into my yard. They finished the water main work in May, and then the remediation began, pouring new driveway segments and long remediation. They finally got to laying the sod in early July. Most of it took. However, they had to return in August to cut out dead spots and lay new sod. Now it's best to do the leveling in the heat of the summer when the grass is growing at its peak time. I had to wait for the sod to establish, so I'm leveling in mid-September. It takes several years to get the yard level. You can't do it in just one season. You can only lay so much leveling soil in one session. Then you have to wait for it to settle and the grass to grow into it. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 areas of my yard that I'm leveling. The front where the new sod is laid, and 2 grass patch areas in my backyard where I'm overseeding the zoysia with fescue and winter rye. The newly sodded area, after it's established, has bumps and dips that make the lawn look a little rough and need some leveling to smooth things out. I start by identifying the low spots, the uneven areas, like the seams where the sod pieces join together, and the areas where the new sod meets the existing grass. I'm using a pre-mixed leveling soil. It's a blend of sand, topsoil, and compost. I load up the wheelbarrow and stage it in the area where I'm going to level. Then I spread a thin layer of leveling soil directly over those areas. The key is not to bury the grass completely. You want just enough to fill the dips while letting the blades of grass poke through. Next, I use a leveling rake to work the soil into the turf. The idea is to get the soil down around the grass blades so that they keep growing up through it. This way the yard levels out without killing the lawn. The key to getting the soil spread and worked into the turf is to rake it repeatedly. Each pass with the rake spreads the leveling soil out a little more. After spreading, I give the yard a light watering. This helps the soil settle into place and encourages the grass to recover quickly. While the sprinkler is running and watering the grass, I take that opportunity to have a little break. Okay, the break's over and it's time to get busy with the next area for leveling in the backyard. I've used almost half a bag of soil on the front lawn. I have 2 more areas in the backyard to work on. I get the wheelbarrow loaded up and move a load of leveling soil around back. This area I'm working on now was the zoysia. The sod was laid down 5 years ago. There just isn't enough sun hitting this area for it to green up and grow. So last fall I overseeded with fescue and winter rye. I didn't prep the soil last fall, I just spread out the seed. The fescue grew okay, but not as well as I would have liked. So this year, I'm going to work the ground some and level out the area with leveling soil before I lay the seed down. The turf was really hard and dry. I used a pitchfork to loosen it up. It was harder work than I thought it would be. I would have rented a tiller, but the area is so small I didn't think it was worth it. I drove the fork into the turf and then pried back a little bit on the tool to lift the soil up a bit. I did this over and over until I covered the entire area. That seemed to loosen up the soil enough. Next, I spread the leveling soil out generously over the entire area. I laid it out heavier than I did in the front yard. I wanted a rich layer of soil over the top of the existing turf. I wanted to have a layer that would hold the moisture from watering so that the seed would have the best chance to sprout. After shoveling out the leveling soil, I spread it out over the area with the leveling rake. The rake works great to spread the soil over the area evenly. It is heavy though. I felt the wear and tear on my shoulders the following day. But I got the soil spread out, and now I was ready for the seed. To spread the seed, I used a handheld rotary spreader since the area is so small. I first spread out the fescue seed, and then I spread out the winter rye. I like to apply both of these types of seed together. The rye sprouts faster than the fescue. It looks really nice, however, it's much more delicate than the fescue. The fescue is much hardier and will withstand the dogs playing on it and people walking on it. With the area overseeded, it's time for the watering. I'll have to water this area every day for at least a couple of weeks, unless we get some rain. The temperatures overnight are in the low 60s and even dipping into the high 50s on some nights. However, it is still hot in the afternoons, mid to high 80s, so the watering is necessary or the heat will dry up the soil. I have one area left to do. It's quite a bit smaller than this area, and I should get it completed pretty quickly. The final area I'm working on also had the Zeon zoysia grass. This area also does not get the proper sunlight for zoysia to grow. I'm going to follow the same steps as I did in the last area, so I'll speed things up a bit. I first cleaned up the area. And again, I loosened up the turf with a pitchfork. This is definitely the most difficult part of the whole job. Again, I applied a generous amount of leveling soil and spread it evenly with the leveling rake. Then I added the seed and the water. I prefer to have the fescue and rye in these areas because the grasses stay green all winter long and spring. The fescue doesn't really go brown until late June. We use these areas mostly in the fall and the spring when the temperatures are mild and enjoyable to be outside. I love having the green grassy areas bordering the patios and the walk paths in the wintertime and in the spring and in the fall. Now all I have to do is keep the areas watered and wait for the grass to grow. I can't wait for these areas to green up. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please give it a like. Maybe even subscribe and share your own lawn care tips in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the next video.